Black woman mocked at fitness club next morning she bought the entire chain. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. You don't belong here. This gym's not for poor people. The words cracked through the air like a whip, loud, sharp, and deliberate. Every head turned. Every rep stopped mid-motion. And standing in the center of that stunned silence was Naomi Blake, calm, composed, dressed in black from head to toe. The woman shouting wore neon pink Sasha, one of the gym's celebrity trainers, her voice pitched high with performative outrage. Beside her, her boyfriend Dylan laughed, the kind of laugh that filled the room but emptied it of dignity. Naomi didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. The echo of that insult hung between them like heat rising off chrome. From the mirrored wall, every reflection caught the same thing, the glint of dumbbells, the sneer on Sasha's face, and the quiet certainty that power rarely looks like what people expect. You heard me, Sasha said, jabbing a finger. Membership starts at $200 a week. People like you don't just walk in off the street. Naomi's tone was even precise. I asked about your policy, not your prejudice. The words sliced through the noise, clean as glass. But Sasha only smirked, leaning toward Dylan loud enough for half the gym to hear. She's probably here for the free Wi-Fi, someone chuckled. Another looked away, ashamed they hadn't spoken. Naomi turned toward the front desk, her steps measured and unhurried. Every movement carried weight, deliberate, steady, unbothered. She'd seen this before: the laughter, the disbelief, the easy-way bias disguises itself as procedure. But this time she wasn't here to prove anything. She was here to see, to remember who they became when they thought she was nobody. The gym's playlist thumped on, unaware the real show had already started. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Naomi. She stood beneath the fluorescent lights, surrounded by mirrors that reflected everyone's body but not everyone's humanity. Sasha folded her arms, confident this stranger would soon leave in shame. But Naomi stayed still. She adjusted her sleeve, exhaled once, and said quietly, "Funny thing about mirrors. They always show who's truly small." And just like that, the next rep of injustice had begun. At 6:45 a.m., sunlight spilled across the glass walls of Westline Fitness Club, the kind of gym where silence costs extra and judgment comes free. Machines gleamed, towels were folded like origami, and somewhere in the air, ambition smelled like eucalyptus. Naomi Blake, 38, walked through the entrance alone. No entourage, no designer bag, just a matte black duffel and a stillness that drew eyes without asking for them. Her sneakers made almost no sound against the polished floor. The morning regulars noticed her immediately, not because they knew her, but because she didn't look like them. At the front desk, the clerk glanced up, scanning her outfit. Simple compression, leggings, black hoodie, hair pulled into a clean bun. No jewelry, no logo, no signal of money. The kind of look people confuse with less. "Can I help you?" the clerk asked, tone polite but tight. "Trial membership," Naomi said, calm. "I'd like to see what your program offers." Behind the counter, Sasha overheard and grinned. "Oh, that's cute," she whispered to Dylan. "A trial. At Westline." They didn't realize Naomi had walked into that gym for a reason far beyond fitness. 2 weeks earlier, she had signed the initial papers to acquire Westline Fitness Group, a national chain struggling under poor leadership and worse culture. But today wasn't about contracts. It was a test, quiet, precise, personal. Naomi wanted to feel what her clients felt, how her employees treated people when no one was watching. As she scanned the row of treadmills, her reflection met hers in the glass, half shadow, half purpose. She thought of mornings years ago when she couldn't afford a gym like this, when she'd jog past storefronts just to catch a glimpse of that world through the window. Now she owned more buildings than she could count, yet somehow prejudice still found her on the threshold. "Name," the clerk asked again, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Blake, Naomi replied. "We'll need to verify," that the woman said, as if names carried suspicion by default. Naomi smiled faintly. "Of course." Her voice was steady, but her eyes had that look, the calm before correction. On the far side of the room, Miguel, a young janitor wiping mirrors, paused for a second. Something about the exchange didn't sit right with him. He'd seen Sasha do this before, the look up, the whisper, the small public humiliation that always seemed to land on the same kind of people. Sasha leaned on the counter. "You know, sweetheart," she said, loud enough to turn heads, "membership's not just about access. It's about fit." Naomi's answer came quiet, surgical. "Then let's see how your place measures up." The gym felt colder for a second, like the air itself knew something was shifting. Naomi took the clipboard, signed the form without hesitation, and looked around. She wasn't there to impress anyone. She was there to expose them, one polite smile at a time. And outside, the morning light hit the glass again, reflecting not just her face, but the empire behind it. Naomi had barely taken 5 steps onto the training floor when Sasha's voice followed her like an echo that refused to die. "Ma'am, those treadmills are reserved for members, not walk-ins." The word walk-ins hung like a judgment, not a policy. A few gym-goers looked up, headphones slipping off, curiosity blending with that familiar silence people wear when they witness something wrong but don't want to get involved. Naomi paused. She turned slowly, her expression unreadable, her calm more commanding than anger could ever be. "I'm aware," she said evenly. "The clerk just processed my trial." Sasha tilted her head, pretending to be polite but failing to hide the smirk. "Oh, we don't really do trials," for she stopped herself, then added with a sugary laugh, "casual guests. It's a premium club." Dylan, bench-pressing nearby, chimed in without looking up. "You can tell who belongs here just by the shoes." His voice carried across the room. Someone snorted. Someone else whispered, "That's messed up," but kept lifting anyway. Naomi's gaze flicked toward him, then back to Sasha. "Then maybe the problem isn't the shoes." That line landed heavier than it sounded. Sasha's smile cracked. "Excuse me," Naomi didn't repeat herself. She simply stepped onto the nearest treadmill, set the incline to 7, and began to run, not fast, not showy, just steady. The rhythmic hum of the belt filled the space, erasing their laughter one stride at a time. Sasha crossed her arms, fuming. "She's not even cleared," she hissed to Dylan. "If something happens, it's on us." Dylan shrugged. "Then make her leave." So Sasha marched forward, all authority and insecurity stopping inches from Naomi's treadmill. "Ma'am, you need to step off. Now." Naomi's eyes stayed on the monitor. "You said it yourself," she replied softly. "It's about fit. Let's see if I fit." The surrounding mirrors caught every reflection Sasha's bright pink set against Naomi's calm black. One looked like noise, the other composure. Behind the smoothie bar, Miguel lowered his mop. He wasn't filming yet, but the thought had crossed his mind. The room was tilting towards something it shouldn't, and everyone could feel it. Sasha reached for the stop button. Naomi's hand moved first, not fast, just precise, pressing resume instead. The treadmill whirred back to life, stubborn, loud, undeniable. "Touch my equipment again," Naomi said quietly, "and you'll regret it." Her voice wasn't angry. It was factual, and that scared Sasha more than shouting ever could. From the corner, Dylan laughed again, trying to save face. "Relax, babe. She's not worth it." But Naomi's next words cut through him too. "Worth is a strange thing. Some people spend their lives chasing it. Others build it." That sentence landed like weight on a barbell, too heavy to ignore. Miguel turned away, heart-pounding, realizing he was witnessing something that might end careers. Sasha stepped back, cheeks burning, but pride wouldn't let her stop. She called out loud enough for everyone to hear, "Security will handle this." Naomi stopped the treadmill, exhaled slowly, and said, "Good. Let's see who you really protect." The room went still again, a silence so sharp it could slice steel. And somewhere deep in that pause, injustice had just signed its own membership form. Naomi didn't move. Not when Sasha huffed and rolled her eyes. Not when Dylan's low chuckle drifted across the gym like background noise meant to humiliate. She stood there, still as stone, steady as breath, and simply existed. And somehow that quiet was louder than anything else in the room. Sasha expected outrage. Expected a scene she could control, but Naomi's stillness stole that from her. The power dynamic flipped without a word. At the front desk, the clerk whispered, "Should we call the manager?" Sasha nodded sharply. "Yes." Before she breaks something, Naomi turned just enough to meet Sasha's eyes. "You think calm is weakness," she said softly. "That's your mistake." Sasha froze, her smirk, faltering for half a second. Then she laughed it off, too loud, too forced. "Girl, please, you don't scare me." But her tone betrayed her, that nervous pitch people use when they've already lost control of the room. Naomi reached into her duffel bag and pulled out a slim water bottle, unscrewing the cap with deliberate ease. Every move was slow, deliberate, like someone measuring time with intention. In the mirror, she caught her own reflection, and for a moment saw another face behind it, herself. at 24, standing outside a gym window years ago. She'd been told the same thing then by a different woman in the same kind of uniform. "Sorry, miss. We only accept serious clients." She remembered smiling, walking away, and vowing that one day she'd build something better, a place where no one would have to prove they belonged. That memory sharpened the silence now. It wasn't nostalgia. It was evidence. Back in the present, Sasha clapped her hands, forcing cheer. "Okay, folks, back to your workouts. Nothing to see here." But her voice cracked halfway through and no one listened. Naomi stepped off the treadmill, unscrewed her water cap again, took a slow sip, and placed it on the console like punctuation. "When you're done performing," she said quietly, "I'd like to finish my set." That line cut through the space like static in a quiet room. Dylan muttered something under his breath, something that sounded like arrogant but didn't say it twice. From the corner, Miguel wiped his palms on his towel, uneasy but rooted to the floor. He wasn't sure why this moment mattered so much, only that it did. The woman in black hadn't raised her voice once, yet everyone could feel the temperature shift. Then Sasha scoffed again, but her confidence was thinning. "You've got a mouth on you, huh? Let's see if that helps when my manager gets here." Naomi's lips curved, not into a smile, but something colder, quieter. "Oh, I'm counting on it." The hum of machines filled the pause, and the air turned heavy again like the weight room itself had stopped to listen. No shouting, no pleading, just stillness thick as truth. And in that stillness, every bias in the room began to tremble. Miguel hadn't meant to get involved. He was just the cleaner 22 working split shifts trying to save enough for college. But as he wiped down the mirrors near the squat racks, he couldn't unsee what was happening. The tension had texture now thick and visible like humidity before a storm. He'd seen Sasha humiliate customers before, the way she'd laugh too loudly, call them trial folks, pretend it was company policy. But this time, something was different. The woman in black didn't shrink. She didn't apologize. She simply stood there like she owned every reflection in the room. Miguel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He hesitated, then opened the camera. Not to go viral, just to have proof. His hands shook slightly as he angled it low, pretending to check messages. The red recording light blinked, once catching Naomi's calm frame and Sasha's growing frustration. At the smoothie bar, two regulars whispered, "This is so awkward. She should have just left." But another voice, softer, disagreed. "No, she shouldn't have to." Naomi heard them. She didn't turn around, but she heard every word. Her pulse stayed even. Years in business had taught her the same lesson. Every boardroom reinforced power doesn't need volume, it needs timing. Then a new voice cut through the hum of treadmills. Tara, a trainee instructor, barely 21, stepped out from the corner. Her voice trembled but carried. "Sasha, she paid. I saw it." The gym froze. Sasha turned slowly, smiled tight. "Excuse me," Tara swallowed hard. "I said she paid. The clerk entered her trial account 10 minutes ago." Dylan laughed, dismissive. "Stay in your lane, rookie." But Tara didn't back off. "No, it's wrong what you're doing. You don't talk to people like that." Naomi finally turned to face her, one calm glance that said thank you without words. Sasha's face reddened. "You're out of line," she snapped. "Go wipe mats or something." Tara blinked fast like she might cry, but she didn't move. "Then fire me," she said quietly. "But I'm not lying for you." A few clients looked up from their workouts. Phones started to appear, small, glowing witnesses raised one by one. Miguel kept filming, heart racing. This was no longer about a gym policy. It was about exposure. Sasha saw the phones and panicked. "Stop recording, that's illegal," she barked. Naomi spoke for the first time in several minutes. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "Only if there's something to hide." Silence again, a silence thick enough to taste. From behind the front desk, the clerk's face went pale. She looked at her monitor at the active transaction bearing the name Naomi Blake and whispered to Sasha, "She's telling the truth." Sasha turned back, eyes flashing. "You little—" But Naomi cut her off just by speaking softer. "Let her finish." The room seemed to hold its breath. Tara stood taller now. "You can't keep treating people like this," she said. "Not everyone's gonna stay quiet." For a split second, Naomi saw herself in that young woman, the first time she'd spoken up, voice shaking but steady. And something inside her shifted. The test she came for had already begun showing results. Miguel's phone captured it all, the fear, the defiance, the exact second the story changed course. Because once a witness finds their courage, injustice starts running out of places to hide. The door to the manager's office swung open, and with it came the false authority of someone used to being obeyed. Grant Lewis, the general manager of Westline Fitness, walked out with a tablet in one hand and indignation in the other. His polo was tucked too tightly, his smile too forced. "What's going on here?" he asked, voice dripping with annoyance, not curiosity. Sasha stepped forward before anyone else could speak. "This woman's causing a disruption. She doesn't have a valid membership." Grant turned to Naomi, giving her that thin, polite smile reserved for complaints they don't plan to fix. "Ma'am, we have rules. This is a members-only facility." Naomi didn't answer. She simply held his gaze, still deliberate. Miguel lowered his camera slightly, but didn't stop recording. Something about the way Naomi looked at Grant made him pause. It wasn't defiance. It was recognition. She'd seen this kind of man before. "I completed a trial sign-up," Naomi said, voice level. "Ask your front desk." "I'm asking you to leave," Grant replied. "Now please, before this becomes more embarrassing for you." That line hung in the air like a spark waiting for fuel. Naomi tilted her head, not angry, curious. "Embarrassing for me," Grant's smile faltered for half a breath. "It's not personal, ma'am. We just have to protect the integrity of our clientele." Behind him, Sasha smirked, arms folded. "Exactly. We don't need people walking in here pretending they belong." Naomi took one slow step closer, pretending she echoed. "You might want to choose that word carefully." Dylan laughed from the weights area. "You're gonna lecture us now, lady? Relax." The sound of his voice broke whatever calm was left. A few gym-goers pulled out phones openly now. Tara stood near Miguel, trembling but defiant. Grant turned sharply to Sasha. "Get security." Sasha grinned. "Already did." Naomi exhaled the sound, controlled like a steady rhythm under chaos. "So this is your policy," she said. "Public humiliation before verification." Grant's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, I'm warning you," Naomi interrupted gently. "Warning me for what?" "Using the treadmill I was assigned." Her tone wasn't loud, but it carried enough that even the ones pretending not to watch had turned. Miguel zoomed in, slightly capturing the mirror reflection where Naomi stood framed by machines and disdain. He could feel something shifting in the air, like the story had found its narrator. Grant straightened his shoulders. "If you don't comply, we'll have to suspend access and file a report." Naomi smiled faintly. Access to what exactly? That smile disarmed him. Not mocking, certain. Then calmly, Naomi reached into her pocket, took out her phone, and said softly, "Carmen, initiate internal verification protocol for Westline branch code 402. Everyone froze. Even Sasha blinked. "What did she just say?" On the other end, a woman's voice answered through speaker. "Protocol 402 confirmed. Corporate monitoring engaged." Grant's color drained. "Corporate? What are you talking about?" Naomi locked eyes with him. "You'll find out soon enough." Sasha hissed. "You can't bluff your way out of this." Naomi turned to her. "Then stop me." The gym was silent now, no treadmills, no chatter, just the quiet hum of realization setting in. Miguel's hand trembled as he filmed, whispering to Tara, "I think she's somebody." Tara nodded, eyes wide. "No, she's the somebody." And in that suspended moment between arrogance and truth, everyone began to understand they hadn't been dealing with a trespasser. They'd been testing an owner. The elevator dinged at the far end of the hallway. Two security guards stepped out, bulky, bored, and already briefed by Sasha's version of the story. They didn't come running. They came decided. One of them adjusted his radio as if this were just another incident. Grant pointed toward Naomi. "That's her." The taller guard frowned. "She doing anything wrong?" Grant didn't hesitate. "Trespassing. Refusing to leave." The guard's expression hardened. That word, trespassing, carried weight. The kind that could erase a person in seconds. Naomi didn't move. She stood near the treadmill she'd used, one hand resting lightly on the rail. "You might want to confirm that before you touch me," Grant scoffed. "Ma'am, I think we've confirmed plenty." He turned to Sasha, who nodded eagerly. Dylan muttered, "Just get her out." The shorter guard approached. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us." Naomi's voice was calm, measured. "Do you know what this building's lease number is?" He blinked. "What, I'll wait," she said quietly. The taller guard hesitated. "Grant, she's not resisting." Grant snapped. "Then make her." That command tipped the balance. Sasha stepped closer, holding a clipboard like a weapon. "Hand over your guest tag." Naomi looked at her. "The one you tore up earlier," Sasha smirked. "You don't have one now. So, technically, you're a trespasser." A few people gasped. Someone whispered, "She really just said that." Then, in a moment of arrogance disguised as confidence, Sasha reached for Naomi's duffel bag sitting on the bench. "We'll hold this until the police arrive." Naomi's eyes followed her hand, slow, focused. "Don't," she said. Sasha ignored her, unzipping it halfway before realizing the bag was nearly empty. Just a towel, a water bottle, and a single black folder. She pulled it halfway out. What's this, fake document? Sasha laughed. Naomi took one step forward, voice low. That's corporate property. Put it down. The taller guard glanced at Grant. Sir, maybe we should stay out of it, Grant snapped. She's lying. And then it happened. Sasha dropped the folder. Papers spilled across the polished floor like shards of glass. A few landed face-up, stamped with a gold Westline Holdings emblem. The logo caught the fluorescent light. The same logo printed on every wall of that gym. A silence spread like wildfire. The guards froze. Grant bent down to pick one up, and his voice cracked as he read the header aloud. Acquisition Agreement. Westline Fitness Group divided by N. Blake Enterprises. Sasha blinked. What is that? Naomi stepped forward, collected the pages, and said evenly. Proof. Grant's lips moved, but no sound came out. Dylan dropped his towel. Miguel's phone shook in his hand as he kept filming. Naomi looked at them, all the guards, the manager, the trainers, and said in a tone that didn't need to rise above a whisper, you just touched property that doesn't belong to you, including this building. No one spoke. Even the hum of the air conditioner sounded nervous. Naomi straightened the papers, slid them back into her folder, and placed it neatly on the counter. Now she said her calm, turning, razor-sharp call, whoever you need. I'll wait. And for the first time that morning, not a single person dared to move. Naomi placed the folder flat on the counter, aligning the edges as if order itself were an act of defiance. Then she lifted her phone again, calm, deliberate, and said, Carmen, initiate verification phase 2. Her voice carried through the gym smooth as glass. Everyone heard it. No one understood it. On the other end of the line, a clear professional voice responded, audible through the speaker. Verification active. All internal accounts and access logs are syncing. Grant stepped forward, panic disguised as irritation. You can't just start making calls like you run this place. Naomi's gaze cut to him. I don't need to make calls like I run this place, Mr. Lewis. I make calls because I do. Sasha muttered under her breath, she's bluffing. Naomi's calm eyes didn't move. Try me. The two security guards exchanged a look. They were trained to handle conflict, not corporate hierarchies, especially ones they might suddenly report to. The taller guard lowered his radio. Sir, you want us to, stand by? Grant's answer came too fast. No, escort her out. But neither man moved. Their instincts told them this wasn't a routine removal. Naomi pressed the speakerphone button again. Carmen, list current Westline branch managers for Los Angeles District. The voice replied instantly. Primary Grant Lewis. Status. Under evaluation, pending compliance review. Secondary vacant. Grant's face drained of color. How? How did you? Naomi's tone sharpened slightly. Because I signed your review notice last quarter. You missed your diversity compliance audit. Twice. A collective murmur spread through the gym. Sasha's jaw went slack. Dylan took a step back, unsure whether to defend or disappear. Miguel, still filming, whispered, "Oh my God," and caught Tara's eye. She nodded, once barely breathing. Naomi turned toward the clerks at the front desk. You have a staff policy manual behind you, correct? The young woman nodded hesitantly. Page 23, Naomi continued. Guest interaction protocol. Read the first line aloud. The clerk flipped through trembling pages until her voice found the words, all guests are to be treated with equal courtesy regardless of appearance or background. Naomi looked back at Sasha. You broke your own policy before I even broke a sweat. Sasha's voice cracked. You can't fire me. You're not, Naomi interrupted softly. Say it. Not what Sasha's mouth opened, but no sound came. Naomi turned to Carmen again. Begin employee log recording. Timestamp 9:42 a.m. Confirmed, the voice replied. Incident recorded and archived. Grant's composure snapped. That's enough. You're creating chaos. Naomi faced him fully. Chaos doesn't need to be created, Mr. Lewis. You cultivated it. The silence that followed was so complete, even the treadmills seemed to hold their breath. Naomi stepped forward, her voice now quiet but absolute. You treated my presence like a problem. Consider this your audit. The taller security guard looked at her with wide eyes. Ma'am, who are you? Naomi's reply was simple, steady, final. I'm the reason you're getting new uniforms next quarter. And just like that, the balance of power in the room shifted for good from humiliation to accountability, one calm word at a time. Grant stood frozen, his authority collapsing in real time. Phones were still raised. Miguel's camera caught every tremor in his expression. Sasha looked from him to Naomi and back again, waiting for someone to say it wasn't true, but no one dared. Naomi didn't move right away. She let the silence do its work. Then, in a voice calm enough to be terrifying, she said, "You've spent all morning debating whether I belong here. Let me clear that up for you." She tapped the phone once more. The speaker came alive. "Carmen," Naomi said, "display my ownership summary for Westline Fitness Group." A short pause. Then the reply confirmed. 91% controlling interest under N. Blake Enterprises. Documentation verified and time-stamped. The color drained from Grant's face. "That's not possible," he stammered. Naomi tilted her head slightly. "Then you should read your own corporate memos." Sasha's hand dropped from her hip. Dylan muttered, "Wait, she owns what." Naomi's eyes met his. "Everything you just disrespected." Across the gym, whispers broke loose. "She owns the company, no way. Check the logo on that folder, man, it's the same one on the wall." Grant tried to steady himself. "If this is some kind of stunt, I'll." Naomi cut him off with the faintest motion of her hand. "You'll what, Grant, suspend me? You're already on probation for your hiring practices. I just hadn't decided when to address it. Until now." Her tone was ice wrapped in velvet, every syllable measured. Miguel zoomed in closer. He caught the moment the realization hit Grant, the moment the chain of command inverted. Naomi turned toward the guards, her voice soft but firm. "Thank you for being professional. You can stand down." Both men nodded silently, relief crossing their faces. One murmured, "Yes, ma'am," before stepping back. Naomi's gaze swept across the room, the clients, the clerks, the trainers. Every eye was on her now. "When I came in this morning," she said, "I didn't tell anyone who I was, because I wanted to see how my people treat strangers. Turns out my test was unnecessary. You gave me my answer before I even laced my shoes." Sasha swallowed hard. I didn't know," Naomi interrupted gently. "You didn't care to." The sentence landed like a verdict. Grant opened his mouth again, searching for the safety of words that no longer existed. "We can fix this," Naomi shook her head. "You can't fix what you refuse to see." Carmen's voice returned through the speaker, crisp and neutral. "Miss Blake, the acquisition confirmation has been verified by the board. All district managers have been notified." Naomi smiled faintly, not triumphant, resolved. "Good." She picked up her folder, turned to the stunned room, and said, "This gym doesn't have a problem with membership. It has a problem with mindset." The silence that followed wasn't fear anymore, it was recognition. Every person there had just witnessed something bigger than ownership. It wasn't just a reveal, it was a reckoning. For a full 10 seconds, the room was soundless, not quiet, but hollow. It was the kind of silence that follows a verdict when everyone suddenly realizes they've been standing on the wrong side of history. Grant's jaw moved, but the words never came. His hand trembled against the edge of the counter. Sasha took an involuntary step back, her reflection in the mirror no longer confident, but cornered. Dylan stared at the floor, pretending to scroll his phone, though the screen was dark. Naomi didn't gloat. She just watched them the way a surgeon studies a wound before closing it. Carmen's voice came faintly through the speaker again. "Miss Blake, all Westline district managers have acknowledged your statement. Corporate communications are drafting the public memo now." "Thank you, Carmen," Naomi said evenly. "Hold on line." Grant tried to recover his posture. "Miss Blake, if I may, this was all a misunderstanding." Sasha may have overreacted, but Naomi raised one hand. "Stop. Just that." And he did. She turned slightly toward Sasha. "Overreacted," she repeated softly. "You insulted a paying guest. You lied to your manager. And you violated federal discrimination policy all before 10 a.m. Sasha's face flushed. "I was just following protocol." Naomi's eyes narrowed, not in anger but disbelief. "Protocol doesn't ask you to humiliate people. That's habit. And habits reveal character." The sentence echoed in the mirrors, a truth too sharp to dodge. Miguel's camera caught it all, his hand trembling but steady enough to record the reckoning. Tara stood beside him, eyes wide, whispering, "She's really doing it." Miguel whispered back, "No, she's undoing them." Grant tried one more time, desperation leaking into his voice. "We can resolve this internally, Miss Blake. There's no need to." Naomi cut in again, her calm returning like gravity. "Resolve what? The way your team treated me when they thought I was beneath them, or the way you looked the other way until it cost you?" Grant's throat tightened. His practiced smile had vanished, leaving only the fear of someone realizing his power depended on someone else's silence. From the cardio section, a middle-aged woman whispered to her husband, "That's her. I saw her in Forbes last year, Naomi Blake Holdings." The whisper wasn't quiet enough. It spread fast, rippling through the gym like a shockwave of truth. Dylan finally looked up. "So, this means we're fired." Naomi's gaze moved to him. "No," she said. It means you're recorded. Whether you stay depends on what you do next. Sasha blinked rapidly, panic finally replacing pride. Please, I didn't mean. Naomi stopped her with a small shake of the head. Meaning is a luxury. Impact is what matters. At that, Sasha's knees seemed to weaken. She stepped back, bumping into a row of dumbbells that clattered like punctuation. Naomi turned to the onlookers, members, staff, strangers, all staring in stunned silence. This moment isn't about me, she said. It's about what you choose to do when you see someone being diminished. Every time you stay quiet, you build another wall around the problem. The words didn't sound rehearsed. They sounded lived. Miguel lowered his phone at last. He didn't need to keep filming. The story had already captured itself. Grant exhaled a sound halfway between surrender and regret. Miss Blake, what happens now? Naomi glanced at him, her voice steady as a closing door. Now, Mr. Lewis, we separate the ones who lead from the ones who hide. And just like that, every person in that gym knew the hierarchy had been rewritten, not by force, but by truth, spoken softly enough to echo forever. Naomi didn't need to raise her voice. The power in her words was the kind that moved systems, not tempers. She pressed her phone again. Carmen execute staff action log. Immediate suspension of Grant Lewis, Sasha Cole, and Dylan Ward pending HR review. Mark non-compliance and initiate credential freeze. There was a pause, then Carmen's voice came crisp as glass. Confirmed. Access disabled. Accounts locked. Grant glanced down at his smartwatch as it buzzed red, his face drained of color. No, this can't. He tried swiping it, but the login screen flashed. Access denied. Across the room, Sasha's phone chimed, then went dark. She tapped it once, twice. Nothing. Dylan checked his keycard, the light turned red. A collective gasp rolled through the gym. Even the treadmills seemed to go silent in respect. Naomi stepped forward, calm as ever. You've just been logged out of my company, she said quietly. Not by anger, by accountability. Sasha's lips trembled. Please, Miss Blake. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. Naomi's expression didn't harden. It simply closed. That's the problem. You never ask who people are until it benefits you. Grant looked around, searching for some ally in the crowd, but the faces that met his weren't sympathetic. They were watchful, almost relieved. A middle-aged man near the bench press whispered finally. Naomi turned to Tara. You stood up when no one else did. HR will reach out to you this afternoon. You deserve better leadership than this. Tara blinked, stunned. Thank you, ma'am. Then Naomi faced the two security guards. You handled yourselves professionally. Report to district HR for reassignment bonuses. My assistant will follow up. The taller one nodded, speechless. Grant's voice cracked as he tried one last appeal. Miss Blake, I've been with this company for 12 years, Naomi interrupted softly. Then you had 12 years to make it safer for people who look like me. What did you do with them? He didn't answer. She walked to the counter, picked up the ruined sign-up form Sasha had torn earlier and smoothed it flat. This, she said, holding it up, is the only contract you honored today, tearing people down. Then she dropped it into the trash. Consider it void. Miguel's camera was still running, though. Now the recording felt reverent, almost sacred. He whispered. She didn't yell once. Naomi turned toward the rest of the room. You can't teach respect through policy manuals, she said. You teach it by example, by consequences that mean something. Sasha finally broke, covering her face. Dylan stared at the floor, frozen. Grant's voice was barely a whisper. What happens to us now? Naomi's reply was steady, inevitable. You go home. You think about what you built when you thought no one was watching. Then you live with it. Carmen's voice returned. Action complete. HR notified. Legal confirmed. Naomi exhaled softly like a verdict delivered. Good. End call. The screen dimmed. The room stayed silent. Outside, the morning light spilled through the glass, bright, sharp, and merciless, the same way truth always enters a room, slowly, then all at once. The gym was still. No clang of weights, no buzz of chatter, just the low hum of the air vents and the sharp clarity of truth hanging in the air. Naomi stood near the window, watching the reflection of herself against the skyline, calm, resolute, unshaken. Behind her, Sasha was quietly gathering her things, eyes red, pride broken. Dylan had already disappeared toward the locker room, silent as guilt. Grant remained near the counter, staring at his disabled badge like it was a mirror he'd finally been forced to look into. Naomi didn't glance back. She didn't need to. The lesson was complete. Tara approached slowly, voice uncertain. Miss Blake, are you really going to close this branch? Naomi turned slightly, her expression softer now. No, I'm going to rebuild it. People don't learn from being erased, they learn from being replaced with better examples. Tara nodded, eyes shining. Miguel stood nearby, still holding his phone, though the recording had long stopped. I never thought I'd see something like this, he whispered. Naomi smiled faintly. You weren't supposed to, but now you'll know it's possible. She walked to the front desk, picking up the guest clipboard, the same one Sasha had mocked her for using hours earlier. Naomi took a pen and wrote something in clean, steady letters. She tore the page out, folded it once, and handed it to Tara. Deliver this to corporate. It's a new policy draft. I want every employee retrained under it. Tara unfolded it. At the top 3 words, dignity, accountability, belonging. Sasha looked up briefly, her voice trembling. Why are you being kind? Naomi turned to her, the calm still in her voice, but the steel underneath unhidden. Because anger built the world that tried to humiliate me. I won't use the same tools to rebuild it. She stepped closer, her presence both gentle and immovable. You'll have to live with what you said. But maybe one day you'll do something different when another woman walks through that door. Sasha nodded silently, tears catching in the neon pink of her reflection. Naomi picked up her folder, her phone, and her water bottle, the simplest objects now carrying the weight of an empire. She walked toward the exit, each step steady, deliberate, reclaiming every inch of the space that once tried to push her out. At the door, she paused and turned to face the room one last time. You judged me by what I wore, she said. By what I carried, by what you thought power looked like. But you were wrong. Her tone softened into something almost poetic. Power doesn't need a title. It just needs to show up calm, quiet, and unbothered until truth walks in behind it. She let the words settle, then gave a final nod toward Miguel and Tara. Take care of this place. Make it somewhere worth belonging to. Naomi pushed open the glass doors. The morning sun poured in warm, absolute, unfiltered. As she stepped out the camera, Miguel still caught the final frame, her silhouette reflected in the logo on the glass. Voiceover, I didn't need to record them. I am the result of every moment they tried to erase. Fade to black.